Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for tonight's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for Race 9 of the FEC Summer Indycar Championship. Before we get too deep into it, let's go over the point standings as they are. Finally, they have been updated, and the last two races have definitely pretty much set aside the haves from the have-nots in the various points fights. We'll go ahead and start with the drivers who are at the bottom of the standings and work our way up. There's a tie for 31st between Dusty1462, VER Twitchy, Raid Havoc, Packerman, and Deed Speeman. They all have 10 points each. There's a tie for 29th between Drew Rocks 2006 and VER Razor with 11 points each. GGA Spino is still staying with 16 points at 28th in the point standings. Indiel Drewski is 27th with 18 points. There's a tie for 25th between XMS Dragon and Kuroshine. They both have 20 points each. VER Polax is still setting with 30 points after his second place finish in the season opener, but he's not shown up to another race since. The Big Mav is still 23rd in points with 38 on the board. PTG Speed has 41 points. He is 22nd in the standings. Neesmorph is 21st with 43 in the point standings. Indiel Shadow is 20th with 52 points. Dino Prime 77 has 53 points. He is 19th in the points. Indiel Didn'Do, who won back at Grand Oak but hasn't shown up for a race since, he is staying with 56 points in the standings. Jack Brossoff is 17th with 60 points. Coca is 16th with 62 points. Just ahead of him with 66 points is King Racing Leo. Then ahead of him is Stinky Potato 841. He has 71 points at this stage of the season. He is 14th in points. Thomas 086R has 72 points. He is 13th in standings. Big Block is 12th with 73 points. PTG Neb is 11th with 74 points, which puts him into a tie with Dr. Pepper, please, who has 74 points as well. That is the tie for 10th right now. In 9th in points is Pindaz. Pindaz missed last week's race. He has 99 points right now. In 8th position is 2 Fuzzball 4267 with 112 points. In 7th position is Amish Gaming 23 with 118 points. 6th position, Claiming Racer 56 has slipped back that far. He won 2 races in the first 5 races of the season, but has not shown up to an event since his Indy win. GRPK Golden is 5th in the standings with 134 points. He is now the lowest person of everyone who has shown up to every race in the season, but there has also only been 3 people who have shown up to every race in the season thus far anyway. 4th in points is NFL Racer 4812. He has 154 points at this stage of the season. 3rd is Prius Killer 8110. He has pulled away on NFL and GRPK Golden. He sets confidently 3rd in points with 165, but that still puts him about 49 points out of the championship fight. Realistically, he needs his 2 title rivals to miss races if he wants to close in on them in the title hunt. Missing 2 races early in the season has just put him too far behind the 8 ball. 2nd in the championship is Maybe Racing. Finally took home his first win of the season last week at Eagle Rock. He's moved up to 209 points total, just 5 out of Scored Buffalo 31. Scored has led the points championship all season long, even after missing Miami earlier in the season. He has 214 points. However, a little bit of a drama thing regarding our 2 dominant guys in the championship. Scored Buffalo 31 and Maybe Racing both made a critical mistake. Qualifying this series is typically done in 2 parts. There's a 12-minute time session, and then the fastest half of those guys go into a 2-lap shootout. Well, Scored Buffalo and Maybe Racing both waited way too long to get their flying lap underway. The clock finished before they could finish their actual flying lap, so they are stuck in the midfield. In today's race is going to be Prius Killer and NFL Racer, who will hold the front row. Amish Gaming will start 3rd. GRPK Golden will start 4th. PTG Neb will be 5th. Stinky Potato will be 6th. Scored Buffalo, the championship points leader, will be starting 7th. Maybe Racing, his pursuer, will be starting 8th. So neither of them got the point for pole. But it is a 5-point swing. If Maybe wins today's race, he will automatically vault himself into the points lead ahead of Scored Buffalo. Scored at this point in the season has 3 victories and has 5 podiums. Maybe has only 1 victory, but has 6 podiums at this stage of the season. The other thing to remember, though, Maybe Racing has shown up to every race in the season, as there is a drop round. Showing up to every race in the season actually ends up being a bit of a negative for him. He is going to lose points before the season is over. Scored Buffalo, who missed the season opener at Miami, does not have to worry about losing any more points going forward, but still, Maybe has closed down to just 5 points outside of Scored Buffalo at this stage of the season. And again, if Scored or Maybe ends up missing more than one more race before the season's up, Prius Killer could capitalize, but based off of prior attendance, it is very unlikely that Maybe is going to miss any more races throughout the rest of the season. So Prius Killer will be leading us to the green flag. We'll have a 13-car field for tonight's race. So last year, this was honestly the only road course race in the FEC IndyCar Championship that had anything close to strategy wildness. There was a legitimate possibility of maybe running a soft medium versus soft in this race last season. Didn't end up having a massive impact, but it was pretty much the only time where strategy was into play. However, now with the different tunes and altered tire wear, there is a slightly higher possibility that there will be some more significant and alternative strategies throughout the run today. Likely not going to matter too much. Scored Buffalo and Maybe Racing were both still way faster than everyone else. We know it's going to be the two of them at the front of the field automatically fighting for the win. The question is going to be, will they be on the same strategy fighting directly against each other all day long, or are they going to try and offset each other and focus on their ability to click off clean laps on their ideal strategy, and then they catch each other late in the race? So it's going to be Prius Killer followed by NFL Racer, then Amish Gaming. Followed alongside him will be GRPK Golden. After that will be PTG Neb, who had a good start to qualifying, but his times just didn't get much faster as the track rubbered in. And then will be Stinky Potato, followed by Scored Buffalo and Maybe Racing, the two who made that catastrophic failure in strategy during the second round of qualifying. After that will be Big Block, highest driver who missed the final round of qualifying. Then to Fuzzball, who's been really kind of all up and down and all around in his results this season. After that will be Pindaz, going to be starting 11th. Just behind him will be Dr. Pepper. And behind him in last position will be King Racing Rio. For Leo, it's just going to be a matter of he wants to try and finish one of these races on the lead lap before the season is over here, as the field is now already beginning to double up as they come into the heel of the boot, this time by... We're going to try and stay on track as much as is reasonably possible for the first bit while the field tries to figure itself out. Last season, it was Scored versus Maybe with Amish in the mix. This season, our top two fastest drivers in the back, and Prius, who has been abnormally strong, the outsider taking the fight to the top two. He has the advantage in track position. Can he do something to maybe pull off his second win this season? That will be the big question. We'll have NFL still looking for his first win in the FEC IndyCar Championship. As they come out of the final corner, 13 cars coming to take the green flag. Will be 43 laps here at Watkins Glen. Green flag, and we are underway. And Prius easily slides into the lead. Immediately, there is a fight for second position. That is Amish, who gets to the inside of NFL. NFL on the outside, Amish on the inside. They'll be side by side coming down to turn number 2. And Amish now completes the overtake. This now puts him into position to be attacked by Golden. Golden gets into him a little bit. And that backs up NFL and Golden. Now Neb goes through. Neb already up into third position. Scored Buffalo and Maybe side by side in the midfield, though. Scored goes in deep. Very nearly runs to the back of Golden and Maybe goes into the dirt. But I think he kept it out of the wall. But someone did not keep it out of the wall. We saw one car way off coming out of the bus stop chicane. But it looks like King Racing Leo will be able to keep going without too much issue here. As we look at Buffalo, currently holding station over Maybe, trying to figure out a way by Golden. Forces Golden a little bit wide just as they get into the boot section. Maybe follows suit right afterwards. Prius already has a 7/10 second lead over second place Amish right now. Neb up into third position. Scored Buffalo in fifth now. He sees NFL Racer ahead. He has the draft and use it to try and close down NFL. Maybe trying to stay ahead of GRPK Golden. Golden, despite qualifying well, has already slipped back to where his teammate is in this event. Prius has opened up a 1 second lead already. There's a fight for second position to the inside of Amish's Neb, but he couldn't make it stick. But Amish is wide as they come out of the boot. Now down this real short straightaway into the last two corners here. Very, very wide on the outside here. In the second to last corner, Neb puts the car almost completely off the circuit. Amish still confidently holding the line. A little bit tight of a line. NFL slaps the outside wall coming out of the corner. So did Scored Buffalo. Here it comes Maybe to the inside of Scored Buffalo. Maybe and Scored. No, yeah, Maybe to the inside of Scored. They're both got by NFL after he hit the outside wall. Scored goes wide. Maybe's going to have a nice tighter line side by side between our championship contenders. And Maybe takes a position over Scored Buffalo. Move Maybe Racing up to the fourth position for the moment. But right now, they are 3 seconds out from your leader, Prius Killer. Prius is 1.5 seconds seconds ahead of second place right now. He is vanishing into the distance right now, and he's going to want to advantage as much as he can. Big swim twitch there by maybe under braking as they came into the bus stop chicane. That backed himself and scored Buffalo up into NFL's position. So maybe scored an NFL, also ranked right on top of each other early on here. Now maybe starting to pull a little bit on scored Buffalo just as they come into the boot once again. Through into this downhill straightaway, you'll come into a very difficult braking zone, into a hairpin, many different lines. They all take wildly different ways, and it's really hard to tell what the ideal line is going to be early on when you have a full fuel load and fresh tires. It will be radically different from what you will have later in the race with a lighter fuel load and more worn tires. Maybe still holding position over scored Buffalo for now. The gap is about 0.4 of a second. That's still close enough for scored to catch the draft on maybe. Maybe it has a nice, respectable, tight line coming out of the boot now and through the last two corners. The DRPK duo of Fuzzball and Golden back there in 7th and 8th. Fuzzball has actually moved ahead of Golden right now at this stage of the event. Stinky Potato has slipped back to the 10th position just ahead of Dr. Pepper. Big Block slipped back to 12th. King Racing Leo still holds in 13th, last on track. Prius has lost a little bit of ground to Amish that past lap. So the gap to at least just 1 second, but Amish still being harassed by PTG Neb at the moment. Real quick, let's look at the tire life of the entire field. Looking at Prius, he's already at 13.4% wear with 60% in the fuel tank. I look at Amish in second position, 12.2% wear, 71% in the fuel tank. That suggests to me that Prius may have a softer compound tire. PTG Neb right in third position right now, 13.6% wear, 63% in the fuel tank. Again, if you look at Prius's tires, he is at 14. All right, so no, they are on the same tire. I got that wrong. I read that wrong. Maybe who is now scooting away from scored Buffalo. He is at 14.4% wear, 73% in the fuel tank. This is scored Buffalo, who runs in 5th position right now, 9% wear. So scored on a harder compound tire right now. So it looks like that is going to be the big focus. Maybe going for pure pace. Scored, likely hoping to cut out a pit stop. And we have had several races be completely caution-free. The race at Road America, the race at Mid-Ohio, and the race at Eagle Rock all went completely green flag to flag. That's not to say there were no accidents, but the accidents were warranted to have not brought out a yellow flag. Not to mention, there have been other events. We had an event at Grand Oak, completely green flag to flag. At Hakone, we only had a single yellow flag, although it did happen late in the race there. It's not unheard of to have minimal yellows in these FEC IndyCar races. There is definitely time for this strategy to try and play out. The big thing, though, scored Buffalo is going to be spending less time fighting with other drivers on these medium tires. He is still faster than the people behind him and will likely overtake the people ahead by virtue of fewer pit stops. Maybe he's going to be faster lap on lap, but he has to spend time fighting like he has just now caught Amish and PTG Neb here for the second position. It is a three-way fight, big contact, and that is Neb into the wall, Neb into the wall in the S's. He's come to a near complete stop as the car damaged. There was a lot of damage to Neb's car as they went 3 wide in the S's, and the car slid up from Neb. He slapped the outside wall aggressively. Very dangerous spot on the track. He's still in a dangerous spot on the track as the field is trying to stir their way by him. Is that going to warrant a yellow flag? He is really going to be backing up the field in the bus stop chicane here, as Stinky Potato has to back way out to not run into the back of PTG Neb there, and I think that's going to bring out the yellow. Yes, we have a caution. I had just said we've gone a long time without a yellow flag. Well, we have a caution as a 3-wide overtake between Amish, maybe, and PTG Neb for second position sends PTG Neb into the wall in the S's. That will be our first yellow flag in, I think, 4 weeks here for FEC. I think it's the first yellow flag we've had since the Indy race, the Indy 250 race. And this will upend how the strategy plays out. Prius, his tires are at 19.8% wear right now. Look at Maybe, who is really the driver to look at because he's going to be going for sheer pace. He's at 19.2% wear. And then Scored, who is on a medium compound tire, he's only at 12.8% wear right now. All right. Well, we're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll see who elects to pit under this yellow flag period. We'll be back shortly here at Watkins Glen. Well, that's very odd. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. We are under our first yellow flag of the day. And interestingly enough, under this early yellow, the only driver in the top 10 to elect to pit was our leader, Prius Killer. So with that has cycled Prius down to 10th position near the rear of this grid. Now, he's going to have a tire advantage over everyone ahead of him, but he will now have to deal with traffic. This has put Amish Gaming now into the lead. Maybe Racing moves up to second. Scored Buffalo now into third, but again, Buffalo is on, we believe, our medium compound tires. Oh, look at Golden. He's at 20% wear compared to Scored, who runs in third, who is only at 14.4% wear. So Scored is going to be surrounded with people who have tires that have more wear, but they are faster tires. He's going to be immediately attacked from people behind, and his rival maybe might have been able to salvage his strategy a bit. These laps in the yellow will let them run a little bit longer and a little bit more aggressively under soft tire conditions, because 2 laps under yellow is like only 1 lap under green when it comes to tire wear. So again, maybe might have ended up being able to extend this round of softs a bit longer. All right, Amish will be leading the field to the green this time by. All 13 drivers still on the lead lap. PTG Nab has cycled to the rear of the grid after being the epicenter of the accident that brought out the yellow. They come out of the final corner. Amish waiting a long time to hit the gas pedal, but he finally does it and actually did a good job. Amish did a good job catching maybe off guard. Maybe was not prepared for Amish to go, and he did. But immediately maybe closes right in on Amish coming out of turn 1, and Scored Buffalo is still right there as well. Maybe behind Amish as they go uphill through the S's. The hyper-aggressiveness from maybe early led to that accident earlier, but if he can pull off some more hyper-aggressiveness just one more time, he can run off into the distance, just click off laps in clean air. He goes to the inside, side by side. Amish backs out, going into the bus stop chicane, maybe goes into the lead. From causing an accident to going to the lead, and now Amish is going to hold up Scored Buffalo. Buffalo tries to go wide, but that just leaves him open to attack from Golden. Golden's going to pull up alongside Buffalo. Buffalo nearly ends up in the dirt, and Golden goes by Buffalo. So one driver moving forward in the championship fight, one driver sliding backward, maybe to the point once again here at Watkins Glen. Side by side between Golden and Buffalo. Golden has the inside line, Buffalo wide, and now that is Fuzzball, the other TRPK driver, right behind Scored Buffalo. Buffalo was really struggling now on harder tires compared to the stickier tires that Golden and Fuzzball have at the moment. And maybe Racing has pulled a 3/10 gap on Amish right now. Amish is honestly doing a respectable job keeping up with, maybe it would seem, Prius has only moved up to 8th position thus far in this run. Golden runs a little bit wide, and Scored tries to get to his inside, can't make it stick. They'll fall back just about single file as they go through the last 2 corners, but Golden's wide as they come down. He's gonna have to back out of it. Buffalo around the outside will complete the overtake, but has a twitch. He has a twitch on corner exit. They're still gonna be side by side. Buffalo on the outside, Golden on the inside. Golden has his nose ahead as they come down to turn number 1, but Buffalo is a lot more confident. He goes way deeper into the corner, completes the overtake on Golden despite being on the harder compound tire, and now immediately Buffalo starts opening the gap on GRPK Gold. Now Buffalo is going to be in a position he can click off clean laps in cleaner air. Here's the other thing though, maybe who is leading is not been able to get away from Amish. Amish still runs within the draft of maybe Racing, and with the way the draft works in this game, where the driver ahead ends up with a bit of artificial extra wear on their front tires and less grip on their front tires, if they're leading the draft train, Amish's position here is really going to hamstring Navy's ability to click off some nice fast laps at the moment. It looks like Keen Racing Leo has had an instant all by himself, and I think Dr. Pepper may have had an instant as well, as he has also lost touch with the rest of the field. No damage to Dr. Pepper, though. We check on Keen Racing Leo. Is there any damage there? No damage there either. Reminder, those 2 drivers did pit under that yellow flag. Amish lunges in on maybe coming into the heel of the boot, but that just means that maybe pulls away on corner exit because he is nice and smoother, has a nice and cleaner line through there. Buffalo holding on to 3rd. Golden is 4th at the moment, and that is Prius, who has moved his way by Fuzzball. Golden now under harassment from the pole sitter in Prius. Prius trying to figure out a way by. The GRPK driver runs right behind that black and yellow car. Hasn't been able to figure out a way by him yet as they come onto the front straightaway this time by. Nose to tail between this duo. There's a bunch of movement back there. That is Pindaz and PTG Neb having to fight. Pindaz on the inside can't do anything to Neb, who just goes around him easily on the outside. Sheer driver ability overtake. Neb's already recovering a bit from earlier. Prius Killer now up into the 4th position. He is on tires that are fresher than everyone else in the field. He gets hit from behind though by Golden. Golden is not going to let Prius just walk off in the distance with this. He now looks to the inside of Prius. Side by side, going down the back straightaway, coming up to the bus stop chicane. Who goes deeper is going to be Golden. He goes plenty deep going to the bus stop chicane, and Prius lets him. So Golden gets the position back on Prius, but Prius is a little bit smoother, doesn't look to be nearly as upset by taking that more relaxed line. But still, Golden has the position, and that's just going to hold Prius up longer. And they see Scored Buffalo just ahead, but these guys are so busy fighting that Scored Buffalo, despite being on objectively worse tires, just slowly scooting away. And the other driver slowly scooting away is Maybe Racing. Now that he has broken the draft between himself and Amish, Maybe can kind of vanish off into the distance now. So we knew that was going to be a fight between Maybe and Scored, but it is going to be a fight off the back of strategy. The other question is just going to be how many positions can Prius Killer recover. He has jumped onto an alternate strategy of his own where he'll have, ideally, fresher tires for the rest of this race, but he has to spend a lot of time fighting. He runs in the back of Golden as they come out of the boot. Does not convert that into any attempt at an overtake, and PTG Neb is caught 2 Fuzzball just behind as well, so there could be an overtake happening momentarily for a 6th position as well, but Prius is still stuck behind GRPK Golden, cannot seem to figure out a way through. Golden defends the inside as they go down the front straightaway. Prius is going to say, fine, I'll hold the outside line. He still breaks early and lets Golden have the line through turn 1. Prius not being very aggressive on these softer tires right now, and he is losing very valuable time because he is not being aggressive. He needs to get out there, needs to be a little bit more aggressive, dive into a corner side by side and kind of catch Golden off guard. But the thing is, the one time they did try to go side by side into one of the more technical braking zones, Prius backed out and let Golden have it. A little bit of nose to rear diffuser contact between the two of them going through the bus stop chicane that time. Again, there's no doubt in my mind Prius is faster than Golden because he's got the softer compound tire and the younger tires. But he's just not willing to push the issue, and Golden can keep him behind as long as he wants. Golden has been doing this stuff for years upon years. Nab has already completed his overtake onto Fuzzball around the outside, and the hairpin is Prius. That's not really the normal ideal lane of choice, but it will give him acceleration and straight line speed as they come onto this straightaway. Already, though, halfway down this straightaway, while Prius has the draft, it's not enough to get him alongside Golden as they come into the heel of the boot. And there's a big slide by Golden right in front of Prius, and that's going to back both of them up. Buffalo is now about 8/10 ahead of this group, and they both run each other wide. Both of them having an awful time. They've got to stop fighting like this. If they keep fighting like this, they're just going to continue to hemorrhage time against each other. But I don't think Golden realizes that Prius is effectively fighting a different race. Prius is fighting for a chance to get back into the podium. Golden, I hate to say it, 4th is honestly the best he can go for, and realistically, I think 5th is all he can really go for. Round the outside for Prius this time. Golden holds the inside going through turn number 1, and Golden runs Prius wide in the short chute between turns 1 and 2, will not let him get alongside. The one time they did get alongside, Golden just missed the corner and took both of them way off the apex, and they both hemorrhaged a huge chunk of time. Yeah, Scored Buffalo is now over 2 seconds ahead of this duo now. Maybe Racing now almost 6 seconds ahead of this duo at the moment. So as this is going on, Prius is just hemorrhaging time. Any shot he had to recover, and that's Golden Wide! Golden Wide coming out of the bus stop chicane, and Prius smoothly goes through. Well, he finally completed the overtake nice and smoothly, but he's lost so much time playing Golden's games that's really kind of put him way behind the 8 ball. Sure, he still has a tire life advantage, but he is so far behind on track position that's really not going to matter. Now, 2 Fuzzball is being attacked by Pindaz here as this duo goes down through the toe of the boot, this big sweeping hairpin, and then they accelerate onto this straightaway. Pindaz right in Fuzzball's draft for the moment. Now PTG Neb also is just about caught GRPK Golden. Golden quite hasn't lost Prius quite yet, though. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Maybe Racing, still on the same tires he started this race on, 44% right now, and he continues to fly. Amish Gaming, who runs in 2nd position, he is at 42% tire wear. Scored Buffalo, who hangs out in the 3rd position, his tire wear as they cross the line, he is at 30% wear. And then Prius Killer back here in 4th spot, who is recovering from a pit stop that he chose to take. He is only at 26.8% wear. He is now starting to run that gap down between himself and Scored Buffalo. He's down to only 1.5 seconds behind Scored right now, but and while he is closing on Maybe, he is not closing on Maybe with significant speed. Right now, it does look like it will still be Maybe versus Scored for this win off the back of strategy. The question, though, is going to be how much time is Scored going to lose once Prius catches him and spends time fighting with them, because Prius and Scored are both poised to be on this racetrack for a lot longer. Maybe and Amish are going to likely be paying in another 2 to 3 laps. And therein lies the other rub. When do these drivers pit, and what kind of strategies does that set the field up for? If you can go to about lap 14, in theory, you can probably make this a two-stop affair. Prius is wide coming into the booth. Golden is really holding up PTG Neb now. So now Golden is fine with Neb, who is trying to recover from that accident he had earlier. Big slide from the rear tires of Golden has come out of the hairpin that time by, and it is a mess farther back here. Pendaz, Fuzzball, Big Block, all on top of each other for the 7th, 8th, and 9th positions right now. NFL Racers slip back there to 10th, kind of lost the plot compared to this trio here. Neb runs right behind Golden as they come out of the boot once more. Both of them seem to be struggling a bit with keeping the rear tires under them. Prius Killer now just 1 second out from Scored Buffalo, so he's closing by about half a second a lap on Scored Buffalo every single circuit here. Big slide by Neb coming out of the final corner. He's going to lose a big chunk of time to Golden due to that. Now it looks like Fuzzball is now starting to scoot away from Big Block here. So the fights on the track are starting to dissolve. But again, I look at his tire life right now. 50% wear at this moment on lap 13. That would suggest that he might not be able to go 14 laps on a set of tires. He might only be able to go something closer to 13. Again, reminder, first lap was a pace lap. Then we had 2 more laps under yellow. Realistically, he's only gone about 11 and a half laps worth of full green flag racing right now. These tires do not seem to have a lot of life in them. And if this might not be an easy 2-stop race unless you want to go soft, medium, soft, or soft, soft, medium, or something like that. But it's not going to be a very simple all-soft strategy that maybe is on, I think. Amish Gaming runs in 2nd position, 3.5 seconds out of the lead. Scored Buffalo has very slowly been closing down on Amish. And Scored Buffalo does have Prius Killer behind, who is trying to close down as well. But Prius is kind of struggling keeping the car on the track. His tires are already at 34% wear. Just for comparison, Scored Buffalo, who runs just ahead of him, he is at 35% wear. So despite paying a little later, despite making a pit stop already and being on fresher tires, Prius is already pretty much even with Scored on tire wear right now. So again, if we go green for the rest of this race, Scored Buffalo still is in a position to cut out an entire pit stop potentially before this race is over. Maybe Racing stays out for another lap this time by. So he's gone 14 laps on this stint. The thing is, because so many of those laps were under the yellow flag conditions, it's not a really good example of what the actual life of the tires will be through the rest of the run. I don't think it's looking that good for maybe right now, and for anyone who's trying to go all softs to the end here, I think Scored Buffalo might be able to make this stick just by virtue of cutting out a pit stop. But then again, here's the big rub though. If you can go 14 laps on a set of soft tires, that would suggest that the mediums could go closer to 21 laps. But if the softs can only go about, you do the math, and the softs can only go about 13 laps under normal conditions, mediums can probably only go about 20 laps, if not only 19. That's still not a very easy strat. That would still suggest that Buffalo would still have to make 2 stops as well. 1 stop very shortly, and then 1 stop way later in the race. Could probably jump onto the softs during one of those stints, but Scored Buffalo might be going on a medium soft stop strategy, trying to run the mediums locked down so he doesn't have to worry about soft tire fall off later. Maybe might be willing to run a harder compound tire later in the race. But one thing for sure, Scored Buffalo has now been caught by Prius Killer, and Prius is on much softer rubber. He's cut through the field at a respectable pace, but not really a fast enough pace to suggest that Prius is going to be fighting for the outright win tonight. But the more time that Scored spends fine with Prius, the better things look for maybe going forward tonight. A little bit wide there by Scored. He's just trying to defend against Prius by just running the normal ideal racing line. It's way harder to make an overtake here if you are off the ideal racing line. There's just not a lot of grip off the normal racing line on most of the road courses in this game. Pendaz now pitting back there out of the 9th position. Buffalo still holds on to 3rd. Prius runs right behind them right now. And again, remember, Prius, his tires by now are already more worn than Buffalo's. He will have to pit sooner rather than later. Maybe leads by about 5 seconds over Scored Buffalo at the moment, and maybe his tires should be in absolutely atrocious conditions right now. But the thing is, Baby has now gone 15 laps. He's at 60% wear, but he did go 15 laps. I think maybe might still be able to make this a simple 2-stop affair. Go about 15 laps this stint on the softs, go 15 laps on another stint, go 14 laps on the final stint. That would take you to the end. It's going to be rough. He's going to have to pay the piper and lose a huge chunk of time at some point in the event, but maybe has eked out this tire life as long as I feel he absolutely needs to. Scored Buffalo is continuing to close down on Amish because, again, Amish is on the same strategy as Maybe, but not nearly as fast or conservative as Maybe is. So Amish is now being caught by Scored Buffalo and Prius. Now, again, Scored and Prius will be staying out here a little bit longer than our top two here, but with Scored being held up by Amish, just gives Prius a chance to potentially try and make a lunge on that number 31 machine. Down to the final two corners once again. Nose to tail for second, third, and fourth positions. Scored has a bit of a slide through there. Prius looks for a move. Scored holds the inside line, then slides wide, trying to run a slightly alternate line to get some fresh air over the wing of that car. GRPK Golden is now paying out of the 6th position, so drivers gain off these tires. Maybe continues to push these tires farther and farther than we thought possible. He is at 63.5% tire wear, and he is still out here, and he's not the only one. Scored Buffalo has just gotten by Amish, but mind you, Amish is still on these worn-out tires, and now Prius is actually starting to lose time to Scored Buffalo. Yeah, Prius has now burnt those tires up a bit too much, spending all that time in the draft to Scored Buffalo. He's at 46% wear. Prius is probably going to have to pit in another 2 or 3 laps. He's trying to get alongside Amish, going to go around the outside of Amish as he goes through turn number 9. He completes the overtake, but Scored Buffalo is now pulled about a full second on Prius. So there you are. As expected, the rub is Maybe versus Scored Buffalo, and now Maybe is hemorrhaging time, and Scored Buffalo is eating into the time gap that Maybe had. This is looking like Scored might be on the ideal strat. Maybe only pulled about 3.5 seconds on Scored on this run on soft tires versus Buffalo on the mediums, and now Buffalo is cutting that gap down. And if both of them only have 2 stops to make, and Scored is going to jump onto the soft tires later and have less worry about tire fall off, I'm sorry, Scored's going to run down Maybe and likely just destroy him on the difference in tire life. But remind you, looking back at Mid-Ohio, we saw a similar thing develop, and yet still, it was Maybe versus Scored. Their fight was not determined by who had the better strategy. It ended up being decided by the management of lap traffic. In that case, Scored Buffalo was the winner in that fight. Amish now pits out of the 4th position now, so PTG Nev goes up into the 4th spot. Prius still holds out in 3rd. He is down to 2.7 seconds behind Maybe Racing, still about 7/10 out from Scored Buffalo, just outside Scored Buffalo's draft right now, trying to catch Scored Buffalo's draft to try and pull some time back. Scored Buffalo is rapidly closing down on Maybe at the moment, but Maybe has gone so much farther than anyone anticipated on these tires. He is at 68.8% wear on these tires. He only has to go, another 27 laps? He can pit, throw on a set of softs, pit again later, throw on another set of softs, and not have to worry about pressing either of those sets of softs as far as he has this time. He has basically paid the piper. He does not necessarily have to worry about this level of tire fall off later on. The problem, though, is that he is now under attack from Scored Buffalo. Buffalo now right under Maybe Racing. The fight for a lead between our top 2 in the championship and our 3rd place driver in the championship runs in 3rd, watching this fight happen. Buffalo being held up by Maybe as they go down a straightaway in the boot, to the hill in the boot. Maybe throws the block. Scored goes to the inside. He goes deep. He goes wide, and he's through. Prius trying to go around the outside of Maybe Racing, side by side, and Prius completes the overtake on Maybe. Maybe has absolutely spent 1 lap too long out here. These tires are cooked. He is now hemorrhaging mad amounts of time. He's at 71% wear. I don't know why Maybe elected to stay out this long, but he has lost too much time in the process. He's now going to be way behind the 8 ball for the rest of this race. And finally, Maybe pits out of the top 3 positions, and Prius Killer has actually caught Scored Buffalo once again. Scored Buffalo, his tires are only at 48% wear, but he's got a bit of engine damage apparently. Prius's tires, though, he is at 54.8% wear. He's likely only going to be able to stay out here for another lap or 2, but he will be close enough to Scored Buffalo. He's going to have the draft and can use that to artificially extend this. Again, I think Maybe by virtue of staying out so much longer than he needed to, may have thrown away this race. Sure, he won't have to worry about tire fall off for the rest of the run, but he is going to be playing catch up in track position for the rest of the day. And again, Scored Buffalo is going to be in a position that he will still have 2 more stops to make sure, but he can also short run the soft tire compounds to the end of this race. It's not like Scored is losing a ridiculous amount of time right now. Good news for Maybe, though, after his pit stop, he has ended up in clean air. There is absolutely no one ahead of him. The driver closest to him is Amish, 2 seconds back, and we know that Amish does not have the pace to do anything to Maybe. So Maybe in clean air might be able to salvage a bit of a run, might still be able to salvage a 2nd place result, but right now I think Scored Buffalo is on the strategy and on the pace to win this race and start opening up his championship lead again. Prius Killer still runs within the draft of Scored Buffalo at the moment. If he can keep pace with Scored Buffalo, that would be great. But the thing is, again, Scored will likely be able to just make 2 pit stops, run soft softs to the end. So we have not even begun to see what Scored's actual pace is is we've already seen what Maybe's actual pace is. He was not able to outrun Scored. Scored's is kind of slow cooking the rest of the field. Everyone's thinking, oh, we might be able to keep up with him. Scored's going to take off about another second a lap after he makes his pit stop and throws on soft tires, and then there's just no hope that anyone in the field has. Scored has the sheer pace to just walk off and dominate this by default. And mind you, that would be, I believe, his 4th different win this season. Let me double check. 4th win? Yeah, that would be his 4th win this season if he can pull that off. Big Block now moves up into the 3rd position on track as he still has not yet changed his tires. He's at 60% wear right now. Mind you, he did pit under that last yellow. The only yellow we've had thus far. Same with Prius, who runs in 2nd position right now. He's at 61.1% tire wear right now. So Prius has gone a respectable distance. When he pits, he'll only have about 25 laps left in the event. Thing is, 25 laps is not long enough for the medium tires to take you to the end. You'd still have to go soft. Again, no real easy to understand tire strategy, I think, for anybody in the field. I think for Scored, he's the only one who's kind of close to a simple to understand strategy. Scored is just, hey, I want to go as long as reasonably possible and then just run 2 short stints on the soft compound tire. Scored is at 53.6% wear on the tires right now. If he wants to run to the 60% wear range, like what we saw Maybe Racing do earlier, I think Scored could probably stay out here until lap 20, maybe even lap 21. The big question, if Scored can stay out here until lap 22, he could try and one-stop this race. He would lose a huge chunk of time near the very end, but could a one-stop be in the cards for him? Prius Killer now pits out of the 2nd position, so Scored Buffalo leads easily at the head of the field now. And his gap over Big Block is going to be more than 20 seconds. Big Block's likely going to have to pit this lap as well. NFL Racer runs in the 4th position, just barely ahead of Maybe at the moment. NFL, he's at 55% tire wear, so he'll have to pit shortly as well. There we are. Big Block did pit this time by. NFL stays out, and he's got Maybe right behind him. So the bad news for Maybe, those clean laps that he was clicking off kind of didn't work quite as well as he expected. He is now kind of caught in traffic. He's already overtaken PTG Neb, but the next driver, that is going to be Prius, actually. Prius is going to come out of pit lane. Where is he going to be in relation to Maybe? Well, he's just ahead of King Racing Leo, who's a lap down, and Maybe is held up behind the lap car of King Racing Leo. Blue flags being displayed. King Racing Leo holding that right side, hitting the dirt, kind of slides wide, nearly hits Maybe, but Maybe has a draft on Prius. He's toured on alternate strategies. Prius has just gone on to fresh tires. Maybe he's been on these tires for a while, but by now, Prius has already got those tires up to tip here as they come down to turn number 9. And the longer these two fight, the better it will be for Scored Buffalo, who is 29 seconds ahead of this duo. But again, we don't know how long Scored Buffalo is going to be able to go. Is he going to be able to stay out here for 22 laps? Could a one-stop strategy be in the cards for Scored Buffalo tonight? That is the big question. NFL Racer runs about 2 seconds ahead of this group, but he still has to make a stop anyway. Onto this straightaway in the boot as they come uphill. Then you run downhill into the heel of the boot there. Scored Buffalo now paying out of the lead. So Scored could not make it a one-stop strategy. So with 24 laps left in the race, Scored Buffalo pits. Thing is, he could run 12 laps on the softs, have no worry about fall off at all, pit at the end of those 12 laps, throw on for another 12-lap run, and he would be going a lot faster as well, because not only would he be on the softer compound tires, he'd have less fuel in the car, and anyone who's watched this series, anyone who's done anything with Indy cars in this game knows that you gain the most time in these cars by having a light fuel load. That is NFL Racer now paying out of the 2nd position. So Prius now briefly goes up into the 2nd spot. Scored Buffalo coming out of pit lane as we speak right now. You can see Prius Killer briefly in the background there around the outside. Stinky Potato gaining his lap back just for the moment. Prius has a run as they come up through the S's. Will he be close enough to get the draft on Scored Buffalo? The gap between them when it came to pitting was not as big as you'd think it would be, but Prius is just barely outside the draft. No, he's caught the draft on Scored Buffalo, and Maybe is only about a second behind as well. Somehow it looks like Scored, Prius, and Maybe are all relatively on top of each other, but Scored has a track position advantage and a very slight tire advantage over Prius and a massive tire life advantage over Maybe. Out of turn number 9 and now back down into the boot. Now this is going to be a big thing. How long is Scored Buffalo going to be held up by his lap traffic here in the form of Stinky Potato? Again, blue flags are a thing, but blue flags are not, you must move over immediately. Blue flags are more a case of, hey, move over when ideal to let the leaders go. Stinky Potato kind of has the discretion of deciding when he wants to let the leaders go here. And he's not moving over. He's not just letting Scored Buffalo go by him. And now Prius Killer has caught Scored Buffalo, and Maybe is right there as well. 1, 2, 3, our top 3 in the points, our top 3 on the track, all on top of each other right now. Bit of a slide by Buffalo as he comes out of the boot, still stuck there behind Stinky Potato. Now through the last 2 corners, And Sticky Potato is doing a respectable job holding the line. This is ironically the same line that Buffalo used as defense against Prius earlier. Big hit into the outside wall by Sticky Potato, and he slides down and goes around the pit lane wall on the inside. So Sticky Potato now will go a lap down. As Scored Buffalo goes around the outside. Prius is going to get around the outside. Maybe was he able to complete the overtake? It does look like maybe completed the overtake as well, but maybe lost time completing the overtake. Prius has actually lost maybe just a little bit, and Prius is now within the draft to Scored Buffalo. Out of the S's and onto the back straightaway now. It's down to about a quarter of a second between these two. Is Prius going to have the confidence to go for a big move on Scored this time by? No signs that he's willing to do that. They both say he's basically nose to tail as they go through the bus-up chicane. Now through turn number 9, Prius closes down to within 0.2 of a second through here. Prius now within 1/10 of a second of Scored Buffalo. Heavy braking as they come into the boot section, and Scored's wide, and there's contact as Prius gets into Scored's left rear, and all of a sudden maybe shows up into the fray, and maybe pulls up alongside Prius, and he gets by Prius as Prius back down to let Scored regain the momentum, and now Scored is back to the lead, but is now his championship rival maybe in second, but maybe gets sideways coming out of the hairpin there, and Prius is right back on maybe. Now these two spend a lot of time fighting, Scored Buffalo will have the chance to maybe try and eke out a gap against these two once again. Just about halfway through the race. Once the leader hits the line, we will be halfway through this race tonight. And our top 3 all running nose to tail at the head of the grid, but it does look like Scored Buffalo has all the cards in his favor as this continues. He just needs to minimize mistakes, and it's going to be a long time until Buffalo catches any more traffic. Keen Racing Leo already lap down. Sticky Potato also already lap down. Our top 3 will likely be running in clean air from now pretty much until the next pit stop. Real quickly, looking at Scored Buffalo, how much tire where is he at? He's at 9% in the tire wear right now. Look at Maybe, who runs in second position right now. He is at 23.5% in the tire wear now. I'll look at Prius, who runs in third. He pit in between those two. He is at 14.8% tire wear. So again, Scored Buffalo, track position advantage, so he can defend as much as he wants. He also has a gigantic tire life advantage at this stage of the race as well. Farther back, it looks like the rest of the field has all kind of spread out until you get back here to Big Block and Pindaz. Pindaz staying just outside of drafting range of Big Block, but Big Block makes a mistake, runs a little wide in the corner. Pindaz could immediately be right back on him here. Interesting thing of note, 4th place PTG Neb has actually closed in within 0.4 of our top drivers, and Amish is just barely outside of 5 seconds of our top 3. So Neb and Amish are having a respectable time, and Maybe's had a spin! Maybe had a spin and a save coming out of the hairpin in the boot. Prius goes back to second, and Maybe loses a huge chunk of time compared to Scored and Prius. Completely self-inflicted mistake by Maybe there. Prius now only 1 second out from Scored Buffalo. Thing is that Prius had to jump off the throttle so as not to run in to the back of Maybe, but in the process now he's starting to close back down on Scored. Scored having a little bit of a hiccup of his own there coming out of the boot. Prius now back in drafting range of Scored, so it may be back to a fight between Scored and Prius, but again, Scored has track position advantage and Scored has a tire life advantage to the end of this race, but Prius has shown before he is able and willing to fight with the best in FEC. We talked about other drivers earlier in the season, who would be able to take the fight to the FEC natives who win 75 to 80% of the races in the FEC ecosystem. Well, this season in the FEC IndyCar Championship, it looks like it is Prius Killer, the one who has taken the fight to them. Pretty often he's fallen, though, just outside of the drafting range of Scored Buffalo, going down the back straightaway this time by. He is at 20% wear on his tires right now. A look at Scored Buffalo just ahead. He is only at 15.8% wear on his tires. Again, Scored can stay out here a little longer. Big thing, though, Prius is going to have a slightly lighter fuel load. That will negate some of the lack in speed due to tire wear, though. But as I'm watching this, it looks like Scored's just a little bit smoother than Prius for the most part. And he's broken the draft, and now he's starting to scoot away a little bit. Prius is now falling more than a second out from Scored Buffalo, maybe 2 seconds out from Scored Buffalo. PTG Neb now 5.1 seconds out of the lead, and he is being run down by Amish. And that might be the reason PTG Neb, 25% wear right now on the tires. Amish, who runs just behind him, he is only at 32% wear on his tires. I think Amish might be on a medium compound tire. He may be committed to a 2-stop, soft, medium, soft run throughout this race. If Neb is going all softs through here, he may be in a bit of trouble just trying to manage his tires to the checkers here. So a potential fight for 4th may be developing here as Amish runs in the draft of PTG Neb, but on that harder compound tire, it will be a lot harder for Amish to make an overtake stick. Not impossible, but definitely more difficult. Top 3 have all kind of spread out now. They've all lost the draft, and Scored Buffalo starting to scoot off into the distance. Prius Killer hanging out second, maybe in third. And that's kind of the big thing, maybe 5 points behind Scored coming into tonight's race. If he finishes third to Scored, that gap would massively balloon. I think that gap would go right back to being a 20-point gap in favor of Scored Buffalo, with just 3 races left after this event is over. And again, maybe is poised to lose points at the end of the season. Scored is not poised to lose points at the end of the season, because when it comes to drop rounds, Scored is going to drop the points, the lack of points. He's going to drop 0 points because he did not show up to Miami. Maybe he's going to drop a bunch of points from his underwhelming result at the season opener at Hakone. So again, maybe not only has to catch Scored in the points, he has to overtake Scored by a significant amount in the championship. And with Prius Killer kind of being the spanner in the works, being able to take the fight to them, if he stays ahead of maybe to the end of this race, this just kind of puts maybe farther and farther behind in the championship fight. And this championship fight might end up being decided just by if Scored Buffalo shows up to the remaining 3 races of the season and how many drivers actually show up to the rest of the season. This championship plays out points to everyone who starts an event, but the bottom few positions only give 10 points. If you have, let's just say, a 20-car field in the final race and Scored shows up but parks the car 5 laps in, well, you can still only make up about 30 points on him by winning the race 32 if you also get pole position and fastest lap. That's not a lot of ground. If maybe is already 20 points behind and then is poised to lose another, I think, 10 points after that, he kind of would be way behind the 8 ball. Maybe he has to catch Scored in the points and then be ahead of him so he can afford to lose the points afterwards. But maybe he has caught Prius now for second. Prius runs a little wide, maybe to his inside. Neck and neck between the two as they go through turn number 9. Prius doesn't seem to have any answer for maybe. He lets maybe go through. Maybe now up into the second position. So Prius now starting to lose a bit of ground, it seems. He does have a bit of engine damage that's probably not helping, but he is down to 30% wear. Maybe racing up into the second spot. 39% wear on his tires right now, though. And Prius, I look at him, what's his tire wear at? 31%. So maybe on more worn tires and a heavier fuel load just went by Prius. So now it seems like it's slipping away from Prius and maybe recovering some ground, but he is still about 2.5 seconds behind Scored. Has to figure out a way to run down Scored before this event is over. Scored has caught traffic in the form of King Racing Leo, but Leo goes nice and wide through the final corner and lets Scored by without too much issue. But here comes your problem. Second and third now catching King Racing Leo in the straightaway. Down into turn number 1, Racing Leo is just going to back off, but he backed off on the ideal racing line. That really backed up maybe, and now Prius is right back on maybe all over again. PTG Neb runs about 5 seconds out from this group, and Amish has kind of stopped catching Neb. So pretty much every other position on the track for now has been decided. The fight right now is for second. NFL Racer has now gone a lap down as well. Dr. Pepper is not too far away from going a lap down, but I think some of our leaders at least will probably pit before that happens. Buffalo's only at 29% tire wear. He can stay out here for quite a while, and he doesn't have to run those tires out until they're cooked. He can wait a bit, maybe really being held up by NFL as they come into the boot once again. Maybe he's wide, and here comes Prius trying to work it around the outside, but now it'll be Prius who's going to be held up by NFL. Prius tries to go wide, maybe holds the inside line, gets back in front of Prius, and he's immediately held up by NFL again. Prius puts the power down, coming out of the hairpin. Maybe he has the draft on NFL. He looks to the inside of NFL, side by side between the two of them. He goes by, Prius does as well, and Prius runs into the rear of that number 1 machine. Maybe holds on to second over Prius for the moment. Scored now 3 seconds ahead of this duo. Yeah, that fight for the race win is basically over. Maybe and Prius are spending too much time fighting with each other. Scored on track for his 4th win of the season and will absolutely shut out a championship run from most of the rest of the field by the looks of it. Yeah, all Scored will probably have to do is continue to run at this pace in the next 2 races, and at the finale at Miami, if he so chooses, he might be in a position that he can just show up, park the car, and not run. We know he is not a fan of oval racing under most circumstances. He may not have to seriously engage at Miami with the way this is going. 3 seconds out is maybe compared to Scored Buffalo, and Buffalo is back clear of traffic once again. Or about clear of traffic. He just overtook Dr. Pepper there. And Pepper has crashed into the wall! Crashed into the tire barrier! In the bus stop chicane, the car is destroyed. Is that going to warrant a yellow flag? That is the question. Dr. Pepper, the car is stalled out. Now he's finally moving again. Is this going to warrant a yellow flag? And it will. That will be our second yellow flag of the evening. And this is going to come with 16 laps to go. You pit under this yellow flag, you throw on some medium tires, you don't have to worry about pitting again to the end of this race. All right, well, it's going to take a little while for the field to gather up, but we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. And when we do, we'll update you on what drivers decided to pit under this second yellow flag of the event. We'll be back shortly here at Watkins Glen. Excuse me. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. The pit road has not opened yet. The field has only just gathered back up, and they have not let lapped cars go by to try and get a lap back here. So now we are in a position that if we pit at the end of this lap, you'll have 15 laps to the end of the race. Well, who can go 15 laps on a set of soft tires? Maybe Racing did that earlier in the event. Now, he had a bunch of laps under yellow to help, but he went, I think, 17 laps on the softs, which is probably closer to about 15 and a half laps of green flag racing. So at the bare minimum, we know that maybe he has the willingness to go that long on a set of soft tires. But what of Scored Buffalo? What of Prius Killer? Do they jump onto the softs? If they do they have the ability to manage the tires to last that long? You could jump onto the medium compound tires. If you choose to jump on the medium tire compound, you will be slower, but you will have the ability to potentially run maybe down at the very end. Scored did that exact thing. He ran maybe down before maybe made that stop. So again, we could be back at the scenario we were earlier in the event. Medium tires may be the option to go if you don't want to deal with fall off. Soft tires might be the option to go if you want to open up a gap on the rest of the field right now. Again, we'll be 15 laps to go when we come to the line, and we believe pit road will be open this time by. We also think they will let the lapped cars go by to try and get back onto the lead lap if our entire lead lap field pits this time by. This is a very, very long yellow flag period, though, and all these extra laps under yellow will help anyone who elects to throw on the soft tires under this stop. But again, you're asking 15 laps out of the softs, even with 2 extra laps, 2 of the laps being under yellow flag. You're still asking 14 laps out of the softs. Those tires are still going to be at some incredibly higher amount of tire wear. And here's your answer. Scored's paying, Maybe's paying, Prius is paying, Neb's paying, Amish pits, Fuzzball pits, Big Block pits, Pindash pits, Golden pits. Everyone on the lead lap basically has elected to pit here. All right, so we're going to use this camera angle stationed up in turn 1 to look at the field. Dr. Pepper pit to repair the damage that brought out that yellow. NFL Racer gets to get back on the lead lap. Stinky Patel gets to get back onto the lead lap. King Racing Leo now goes to only being 1 lap down. Who is going to be the leader when they come out of pit lane? To no one's surprise, it is Scored Buffalo. Maybe holds 2nd. Prius is 3rd. Neb 4th. Amish 5th. Fuzzball 6th. Pindash 7th. Golden 8th. Big Block is going to be in 9th. And we'll see them filter through the S's here. Again, this is great news for NFL and Stinky Potato. They might be able to get a free pit stop And then after that, still catch the rear of the grid, but we're probably not going to go green until I think about lap 32 potentially, unless they decide not to wait for the likes of NFL and Stinky Potato here. All right, watching NFL right now as he is trying to rush around the field here. He's got relatively fresh tires on and a decent amount of fuel, but I don't know if he has the I don't think that would be enough to carry him to the end of this race. Could be, I'm not sure. And even if it is, he is going to burn up a lot of the tire life, and a lot of the fuel use will be used trying to just catch the rear of the grid. He is still a half a lap behind our lead pack now. But it is Scored Buffalo, Maybe Racing, Prius Killer, your top 3 in the championship run, first, second, and third on track right now. And yeah, NFL is going to take this opportunity to get a free pit stop this time by. Don't know what Big Block is doing there in ghost mode. Stinky Potato also will go ahead and take the opportunity to get a free pit stop. Dr. Pepper now still a lap down as he had to pit with the field. So a bad day just kind of locks him into worse. But he is still ahead of King Racing Leo for the moment. Big thing though, King Racing Leo did not pit right now, and he's already at 24% tire wear. He has the fuel, but does not have the tire life to make it to the end. I think Pepper might still finish ahead of King Racing Leo if we stay green to the end, because King Racing Leo is going to have some absolutely atrocious tire fall off here. NFL has already gotten out of pit lane now, but he is still half a lap behind your lead group. 92 seconds behind right now, it says. And while he'll be chewing away at that gap, going through the back straightaway here, I don't know if we're just going to go green and not wait for these drivers, or if they're going to wait an entire extra lap. If they do wait an entire extra lap, it will really help anyone who elected to pit and put on the soft tire compounds. Again, it takes it from being a 15-lap run on tires closer to being like a 14-lap all-green flag run. Yes, you will still have tire fall off, but not the worst. It saves just a little bit more. And Maybe has been very willing to push the life on his tires today more than the other drivers on track have been willing to. But again, we do not yet know if they're going to go green this time by or not. NFL Racer still has not caught the rear of the field. King Racing Leo has still not caught the rear of the field either. And he didn't even pit. This lead group of about 9 cars, about 10 cars, 9 lead lap cars and then 1 lap car, they're all packed on top of each other as if they are about to go green flag here. All right, King Racing Leo is just about caught the rear of the grid. And we're off. They did not wait for the rest of the grid. We go green. So yeah, tire life to the end is going to be a problem, and this could work out huge in Maybe's favor. But it is Scored Buffalo who leads right now over Maybe Racing. Prius holds on in 3rd position. Neb is in 4th, recovering from his accident from earlier. Amish still having a respectively strong run in 5th right now. NFL Racer is still about 7 seconds behind the lead pack, so he does not really have a chance to pick up positions unless drivers at the front have an accident. Maybe making a move on Scored Buffalo, side by side for a lead, but Maybe backs out as they come down into the bus stop chicane, and PTG Neb is harassing Prius for 3rd right now, so it is just Maybe versus Scored at the head of the field. I think it is possible that Prius is thrown on the medium tires. He doesn't have the confidence in taking his tires to the end. I think Maybe might be on the sauce. I don't know what Scored is on though, but if Scored's on the mediums and Maybe's on the sauce, Maybe has to put the pressure on now and get by Scored as fast as he can. Open up that gap as much as possible. Scored, missed the hairpin. Scored, misses the hairpin in the boot, and now Maybe misses the exit and goes into the dirt right afterwards. And immediately the momentum swings back into Scored's favor. Prius now gets the draft on Maybe once again. He brings Neb with him. The top 4 already breaking away just a little bit from your 5th place driver, Amish Racing. Pindas just getting by a big block near the rear of this grid. NFL Racer actually losing time to this field, but Scored starting to scoot off into the distance right now. Neb nearly hits the outside wall as they come out of the boot that time by. Maybe now back within 0.4 of a second of Scored Buffalo as they go through the final corner. Across the start-finish line this time by. Maybe has the draft on Scored. We think he may be on the soft compound tire. He needs to work and get by Scored Buffalo as fast as physically possible so he can try and open the gap on Scored. Otherwise, Scored is just going to hold station and will pull off an easy win. Maybe still half a second behind Scored. He may have the speed, but doesn't seem to have what it takes to get up alongside him. The draft is keeping him in touching range, but not letting him actually get side by side with him. Prius now falling back into PTG Neb's clutches again. 0.6 is the gap in Scored's favor as they went through the bus stop chicane that time by. Yeah, Maybe he's actually losing ground to Buffalo, it seems, in the straightaways. He's at 9% wear right now. I look at Scored Buffalo, who is leading in clean air. His tires are at 9.3% wear. Right now, Scored is burning his tires tires slightly faster than Maybe, but they are on the same tire compound, and Scored is doing a decent job keeping Maybe behind. If they're both on the soft tire compound, it's just going to be a matter of who is able to manage their tires better to the end of this race. Right now, Maybe is doing very slightly better, but if Maybe falls a second or 2 seconds out from Scored, he might not be close enough to take advantage of it. Prius has now fallen to 2 seconds out of the lead group. Now, he is still being harassed by Neb, and Prius is already at 11% tire wear, so it's not like he's on harder tires running an alternate strategy. He just doesn't seem to have the pace late here, and Neb is now really harassing Prius. Neb tried to get to the inside, could not make it stick. Prius is on a run of, I believe, 4 straight podium results in this season that has vaulted him into a comfortable 3rd place position in the points, and with NFL buried back there in 10th, Prius is going to extend that lead on NFL going forward here. Scored has opened the gap on Maybe to a full second right now. Prius, 2.5 seconds, now 2 3/4 of a second out from your leaders, and PTG Neb now trying to work around the outside of Prius as they go through the S's. You know, Neb, this is not an ideal overtaking zone, the S's, but he's really trying to get into Prius's head. He pulls up right behind Prius once again. Is he going to make a move going into the bus stop chicane? He does not go for the move that time by. Out of the bus stop chicane and now through turn number 9. And as these two are fighting, Scored and Maybe scooting off into the distance. We expected the fight would be between Scored and Maybe, but for a long time today, it looked like it would be a fight on drivers running 2 different strategies. Now they are on the same strategy. The question is just going to be who can manage their tires better to the checkered flag. And again, reminder, there are no the Forza time penalties awarded in this race will not count to post-race results today. FEC typically does not go by Forza's time penalties unless the cuts are especially egregious. 3 seconds out is Prius as he's trying to pull away from Neb just a bit. I look back at our top 2. It is still Scored running just ahead of Maybe for the moment. When they come across the line, it will be 11 laps to go. Again, tire life to the end is going to be very hard. Maybe has been the king of managing tires, not just this season, but last season as well. He could pull out or limp out, pace out of the tires. But we know that sometimes he takes that advantage too far. We saw earlier he ran the sauce a lap longer than he needed to, ended up losing a huge amount of time to Scored in the process. That's how he's ended up behind Scored. But now he doesn't have to worry about going too far on the tires. If he's not bitten off more than he could chew, this still might go in Maybe's favor just off the back of tire management. Big thing, though, is that Maybe is running behind Scored. He's getting the draft. What does that mean? Well, he's going faster in the straightaways, but he has to get harder onto the brakes going to every one of the corners. It also means that there's less clean air going over the front wing of the car. That is going to increase the tire wear. Now, that difference is very, very minimal in this game. It is nothing nearly as extreme as what you see in real-life racing, but it does have an impact. Prius has really pulled away from Neb back there, and Maybe has now gotten the gap down to a 1/4 second of Scored Buffalo. Is Maybe going to actually go for this move, or is he just going to try and make Scored Buffalo sweat out, hope that Buffalo can just burn off the tires? This is not the first time this season. It has been Scored versus Maybe at the head of the field. It was these duo fighting for the win at Mid-Ohio. They were not happy with how it went, though. We have a caution. We have a yellow flag by the looks of it. Dr. Pepper has had another catastrophic accident. The bus stop chicane, everything in the car is absolutely destroyed. This will now put him behind Keen Racing Leo, and we are under our 3rd yellow flag of the event with 10 laps to go when our leaders hit the line. And now this kind of neutralizes any advantage Maybe would have had, because now with these extra laps under yellow, tire life is not going to be an issue. These drivers are not going to have to worry about tire fall off. Yes, they will lose time near the end, but it's not going to be that bad because these extra laps under yellow mean that you're not stressing the tires. This yellow flag likely by default gives this race win to Scored Buffalo. Unless Maybe can absolutely shoot out of a cannon and catch Buffalo unawares, this has derailed Maybe's shot of winning this race tonight, and Maybe needed to win this race to try and put himself into the upper hand position in these closing stages. Again, if Maybe is aggressive enough on this restart, he could still win this race and put himself in the upper hand in the championship. But he cannot rely on potentially nursing his tires better than Scored. He just has to get out there, elbows out, and run down Scored completely on merit. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we will see if anyone chooses to pit under this late race yellow here at Watkins Glen. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Watkins Glen. The entire field, with the exception of Dr. Pepper, has caught back up to the rear of the grid. It does not look like anyone is going to pit until you get down to 9th, 10th, and 11th. King Racing Wheel already a lap down, and his tires are just about cooked. Pindaz will put on new rubber. NFL Racer will put on new rubber. Stinky Potato will put on new rubber. So that will help them out a little bit. I don't think they'll be in a position to fight for the top positions, but they will be in a position to maybe creep their way up to the top 5. And for NFL Racer, this could be good news if he can put together some good laps and something bad happens to Prius. NFL might be able to close the gap back down between himself and Prius Killer and their little fight for third in the Drivers' Championship. Scored Buffalo holds station over Maybe Racing right now. Prius will be third, PTG Neb fourth, Amish gaining fifth. Those have been the top 5 drivers for pretty much all day today. And I've got to say this again, Amish last season just kind of ran a lot of the season in the bottom half of the top 10 or sometimes out of the top 10 altogether. He's finished decent enough on the points just by virtue of showing up to a lot of races, but was not in anything close to serious results. Amish this season has put together a lot of fantastic runs, not in a position to fight for wins, sadly, but Amish is going from an average finish of like 9th or 10th to an average finish closer to like 5th or 6th throughout most of the season. It has been a fantastic turnaround in performance by Amish this season. It's been one of the better stories to talk about comparing this season to last season here in the FEC IndyCar Series. And then in 4th place is PTG Neb. Neb's kind of had an up and down season. Took him a long time to start getting results, but once he started getting them, they've been consistent. His problem, though, is that he has not been able to show up to a lot of races, so he is buried way farther down the championship than you would think. There might end up being a fight between Neb and Amish when it comes to where they are in relation to each other in the championship, depending on how their runs are for the last 3 races of the season after today is over. And then you have Prius Killer in third. Prius seems to have the pace. As long as he shows up for the remaining races of the season, it is likely that he is going to lock up a 3rd place result in the Drivers' Championship. He's already won a race. In fact, all drivers who won a race last season have also won a race this season. Prius really just wants to try and keep fighting with these top 2, figure out ways to get faster, maybe steal another win, and if he can't do that, figure out a way to match the likes of Score Buffalo maybe in the future, so whatever future championships FEC's run, he could be in a position to fight with them. The entire field has now gathered up. Will be going green with 8 laps to go. Scored will be commanding the field. Maybe has to be prepared for Scored to go. He needs to not let Scored get the jump on him, and then he needs to stay on top of Scored as long as he can. Get aggressive and put elbows out to get by Scored. That is his best hope for the championship. Green flag once again. 8 laps to go at Watkins Glen. Dr. Pepper limps it into the pit lane again there, so he's going to be blocked in the 13th. But we look at the front. Maybe he's running behind Scored, but Scored's already starting to pull a gap, and Prius is still there as well. The top 3 really jumped Neb, and now maybe looking for an outside line, looking for an alternate line on Scored. Maybe looking at the outside, that falls back in line behind Scored as they go down the back straightaway. Scored defends the inside, Scored runs maybe into the dirt, maybe now goes back to the outside. Scored runs maybe into the dirt. That will probably be controversial, I'd imagine, if not for the fact he's doing good friends, but Scored misses the corner, maybe goes for the dive bomb, he gets sideways, Scored backs out as well, Prius is right behind them, top 3 all those attempts to come into the boot once again. Through the boot once again. Scored, maybe, Prius all on top of each other. Scored, holding station over maybe right now. Well, maybe is doing what he needs to. Maybe is being very aggressive, getting elbows out. He needs to keep doing this to Scored if he wants to get this win. He's got to get this win so he can take the points lead this late in the season. Down the straightaway and now to the heel of the boot once again. Maybe look at the inside line, but he's not going to commit to it. He falls back in line behind Scored as they come out of the heel of the boot. Now back uphill. It's this off-camber left-hand corner here. Very, very difficult corner. One of the most difficult corners on the circuit. Our top 4 all stay. Pretty much nose to tail as they come out of it. Neb has actually popped back up to the top 3 in this entire thing. Maybe runs wide. Now closes right back in on Scored. Nose to tail for a top 2 again as they come out of the final corner. Maybe licks the outside wall. And Prius now gets a run on Maybe. Pulls up right behind that number 1 machine. But the defending champion does not have to worry about Prius getting alongside of him in turn 1 this time by. Now they come out turn 1 through the short chute to turn 2. Maybe runs nice and wide, trying to carry as much speed as possible into turn number 2. He is still close enough to get a draft on Scored Buffalo this time by as they go through the S's. Onto the back straightaway once again. Maybe racing within 0.4 of a second of Scored Buffalo. Running slightly alternate line, trying to give himself the best line going into the bus stop chicane this time by. He gets right up the rear wing of Scored Buffalo. Maybe right behind Scored Buffalo. They both gap Prius coming out of the bus stop chicane that time by. The gap is just 1.13 seconds between the two of them now as they go back into the boot once again, but maybe misses the corner, runs wide, Scored holds a nice consistent inside line, the gap opens back up in Scored's favor, but maybe is still within his draft as it comes down to the into that hairpin. Once again, Scored runs a little bit wide, but has a nice exit coming out, maybe still within the draft though, stays within half a second, just barely, but he's still within half a second of Scored as they come down to the braking zone. Maybe still behind Scored, but time is starting to tick away now. When they come to the line, it will just be 6 laps to go here at Watkins Glen, and Scored seems to have gotten the worst defense moves that he needed to make out of his chest. He's starting to slowly gap on Maybe now. The gap is now a bit over a half second between the two of them. They come out of the final corner. Scored misses a little bit of ground there, but Maybe's not so smooth coming out of the corner. Still just a bit more than half a second in Scored's favor right now as they go down to turn number 1. Scored holds a nice smooth line. Maybe again goes really wide as they come out of turn number 1, trying to maximize the speed that he carries out of turn 1 into turn number 2. The gap is almost big enough. Scored has almost broken the draft against Maybe, and the big problem for Maybe is that Maybe loses the draft on Scored Buffalo, while Prius is still close enough. He has the draft on Maybe. Prius could immediately start getting aggressive with Maybe, and then Maybe would end up losing even more ground to Scored, your championship leader. The gap is still over half a second between these two as they come out of the bus stop chicane. Now through turn number 9, exactly half a second in Scored's favor right now. PTG Neb has had some sort of issue. He has plummeted backwards through the field as he has gone off in the bus stop chicane. No damage, but a top 5 result derailed by Neb by a self-inflicted mistake late. This now puts the GRPK driver of 2 Fuzzball up into the 5th position on the track now. So move 2 Fuzzball up in the 5th spot on the circuit now. Amish now is also moved into the 4th spot, but they are 4 seconds out from the leaders. There is no chance that these two end up having an impact on the fight for a lead. Maybe runs incredibly wide, licks his tires over the dirt. He is briefly out of the drafting range of Scored and continuing to hemorrhage time. Scored slides a little bit wide as they come out of the boot, but Maybe is 9/10 of a second out of Scored Buffalo. He has lost the draft on Scored Buffalo, and Prius has the draft on Maybe. Is Prius going to take the fight to Maybe? If he does, that could end up putting Maybe way behind the 8 ball in the championship fight. Going down the front straightaway, it is now 5 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. Maybe has lost the draft against Scored Buffalo. Just on the off chance, we'll take a look at the tires. Is there any chance that Scored burns up his rubber? He is at 39.2% on the rubber right now. Maybe runs in 2nd position. His tires are at 40%. So no, Scored actually has the advantage in tire life over Maybe. Prius, who runs in 3rd, right behind Maybe, he's at 42.3% right now. So if it comes down to tire life to the end, Scored would beat Maybe, and Maybe would still beat Prius to the end of this race. Of the drivers who pitted under that yellow flag, NFL Racer is up into the 7th position, but he has not yet caught Big Block, who runs a little bit ahead of him right now. Big Block is at 43.7% tire wear, though. He'll likely deal with some incredible tire fallout before this is over. In 2 Fuzzballs, another 4 seconds up the road, though. We don't know if NFL will have a shot at Fuzzball by the end of this race. Maybe has completely lost touch with Scored Buffalo, but Prius has also now lost the draft on Maybe. So the top 3 have all spread out. The top 3 in the championship run in the same position on track now. When they get to the line, it will be 4 laps to go, and it looks like the fight for the podium positions have pretty much been decided as long as no one in the top 3 make a catastrophic mistake. The focus is now on this fight for 4th. Amish Gaming is losing a little bit of time to 2 Fuzzball right now. And between the two of them, Amish, he is at 39.5% on his tire wear. 2 Fuzzball, who runs right behind him, he is at 43.2% on the tire wear. So Fuzzball is faster right now, but Amish will not have to worry about as much tire fall off as Fuzzball will. 4 laps to go as they come across the line this time by, down into turn number 1. Fuzzball just half a second behind Amish. He's caught the green and white machine's draft. Where does he make the move on Amish? And this would be another race where Fuzzball actually ends up outscoring his teammate and the runner of the GRPK team, Golden. So that'd be pretty solid for Fuzzball. Fuzzball pulls up right behind Amish coming out of the bus stop chicane, but actually has to backpedal out of it so as not to run over the rear tires of Amish there. Into the boot they go once again. Amish is wide, but Fuzzball not really willing to send it up the inside going into that corner. Still runs right behind Amish. This group 7 seconds out of the lead trio. So again, they are not going to have any impact on the podium fight. This is just for their own fight for points and results. Big block about 3 seconds behind them, and NFL another second behind that. But NFL won't have any tire fall off, so he might still be able to catch Fuzzball before this is over. It'll be 3 laps to go when the leaders hit the line, this time by PTG Nev has just gotten by Pindaz, or is trying to get by Pindaz around the outside. But look at that, Nev is at 48% tire wear. I look at Pindaz, who he's just overtaken. Pindaz is only at 25% tire wear. We know that Pindaz is slow. Last season, he was the lowest finishing driver in the points of everyone who showed up for every race. But right now, Pindaz has a big advantage. He does not have to worry about any tire fall off. The likes of Nev and Fuzzball and a bunch of other drivers are going to be hemorrhaging a huge chunk of time at the very end of this race here. Big news in the fight between Scored and Maybe, though. Maybe has cut the gap back down to within half a second. So the tire advantage / disadvantage might be playing a factor. We didn't think it would, but maybe it is. 49.7% wear for Scored. For Maybe Racing, who runs just behind him in his draft again, he has just hit 50.9% wear. So Scored is doing better job managing his tires, but Maybe has caught him again. Prius runs 2.5 seconds out of this duo. So Prius will not be a factor for this win by the looks of it. It is your top 2 in the championship on top of each other. And when they hit the line, it will be 2 laps to go. Maybe taking nice, smoother lines through these corners. Maybe is really good at finding time on burnt out tires, but he can't just find time. He has to figure out a way to get alongside and clear Scored Buffalo. And again, this finishing order will have a big impact on the championship. If Scored finishes ahead of Maybe, that's 10 more points back in Scored's favor. The championship gap goes back up to a 15-point swing. If Maybe finishes ahead of Scored, Maybe then takes the championship lead by 5 points for the first time this entire season. 2 laps to go as across the line this time by. Maybe looks to the inside Scored Buffalo, but not willing to commit to it as they go down to turn number 1. So Maybe has now caught Scored, but it's like a dog chasing cars. You finally catch them, but are you too exhausted to do anything? 7% left in the fuel tank for Scored Buffalo right now. For Maybe, he has 14.9% in the fuel tank. We don't think Scored's at risk of running out of fuel, but that lighter fuel load will help Scored a little bit more on acceleration out of the corner and momentum going through the corners. Through the bus stop chicane for the second to last time. Scored's wide. Maybe tried to lunge to the inside, but didn't have the traction to make it work. Nose to tail between Scored and Maybe. They go into the boot once again. Traffic is way ahead of them. They are not going to catch traffic. They are nearly 3 seconds ahead of Prius Killer. He's not going to be a factor. It is mano-y-mano for the race win and for the momentum in the championship. Maybe goes deep, too deep, loses some time in the hairpin to Scored as they come out of the hairpin now. But Maybe is still within drafting range of Scored Buffalo, still within half a second, and it's only going to keep getting worse for Scored because Maybe is right behind them, putting that inverse aero wash all over the front tires of Scored right now. He is at 55% wear at the moment. I look at Maybe, who is running just behind him, though. He is at 56% wear. Is there anything that Maybe can do? He's caught him, but he may not be able to do anything here in these closing laps. They are coming down to the white flag lap. They'll come out of the final corner, and then there will just be one more circuit around here at Watkins Glen. Maybe hits the outside wall on the exit of the final corner. The gap is still at half a second in Scored's favor. May have grown just a little bit more. It's about 6 tenths as they go down through turn number 1. Scored runs wide, really struggling to keep him on track, but Maybe is losing ground as well. Maybe might have just lost the draft on Scored. Could that have been the end? Maybe hitting the wall, coming to the white flag, may have just decided this race. Maybe just barely caught the draft back on Scored Buffalo, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move on him going down to the bus stop chicane. The problem with it is how fast these cars are, how aerodynamic sensitive these cars are. I don't think there's any way that Maybe is going to be able to get alongside him. You just need a bigger tire life discrepancy between these two than what you've got. He's caught Scored again. The gap is back to within. He goes for a dive bomb! Dive bomb going to the bus into the boots! He's by! Maybe muscles his way by Scored Buffalo just as he got to the boot on the final lap! And the momentum in the championship takes a big swing with less than 2 miles left here at Watkins Glen! But Scored is not done yet. He runs right behind Maybe as they go down the straightaway here in the boot. They're going to go uphill, then back downhill into the heel of the boot. This is the last good overtaking zone, but Scored is already more than a quarter of a second out. The gap is rapidly growing. He's now half a second out. Maybe has taken the championship by the throat. The gap is up to 7 tenths of a second. Now 8 tenths. Scored is dribbling away comes home in 4th. Two Fuzzball limps the car home in 5th. Big Block limps it home in 6th. NFL Racer can only manage 7th on the fresher tires. Stinky Potato gets 8th. GRPK Golden 9th. Neb 10th. Pindaz 11th. It looks like Dr. Pepper will be 12th and King Racing Leo will be 13th. But suddenly, a last lap overtake at Watkins Glen. Maybe beat Scored Buffalo on strategy, beat him on tire life, and beat him in the fuel numbers game as well. Maybe. Now gets his second win of the season. He is getting hot at the most important time and Scored Buffalo for the first time since the green flag fell at the season opener at Hakone is not going to be leading the championship. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers tonight at Watkins Glen. Alright, excuse me. Who just jumped in the party? It was maybe. Okay, I assume you do want an interview then. Once this ad's over, I'll do that. Excuse me. Can you hear me? Alright. Okay, I'm just gonna say this now. Waiting. Okay, hopefully we don't have everyone rushing in here and it crashes the party. Please not, because I'm sick and tired of that happening.
Well, we can hear you for now, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Watkins Glen. Our race is over, and our victor with a last lap overtake, and not just the race, but the championship as well, is Maybe Racing. Maybe go ahead, include your audio. That was a wild race. Did you have any clue that you were going to be able to pull that off at the end?
Just kind of remained confident in it, hoping, getting everything to go my way. I know I have pretty good tire wear, so I was being a little bit careful on the tires, hoping to have that last lap lunge, that last lap opportunity to get Scored. Fortunately, Scored had to save fuel in the end, and he ended up running out of fuel, but I was able to get that pass done. Fantastic racing, Scored and Prius the whole race. Very clean, great racing. Glad that I was able to get that win.
Yeah. I do want to talk real quickly. In qualifying, a complete mess up in the final round of qualifying. We knew that you and Scored were two of the fastest people, but threw away your best chance at lap. What happened back there in qualifying?
Rage baiting. A lot of rage baiting. But now, yeah, we're used to having a 3-minute timer at the end, and there was a 1-minute timer. Things happen. Ultimately, I was able to get up through the order, so it didn't really matter. It's 1 point. Could matter in the end. It's not that big of a deal. Hopefully, when we get to the end, we'll have it.
All right, championship momentum has decisively swapped now. There are 3 races left in the season. You lead the championship for the first time this year. But you are still poised to lose points at the end of the season. Scored is not poised to lose points at the end of the season. Do you still think you can beat him in the championship?
I don't know. We'll ultimately see how it goes. Hopefully I have the momentum. I know Laguna's going to be a hard track for me, but at the same time, hopefully I can take an advantage of tire wear and get things done there.
All right, anything else you want to say before we let you go for the night, maybe?
You want speed? Let's get it done.
All right, maybe. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Great job on your win and that fantastic last lap dive bomb there. And now I want to turn our focus to Prius Killer, our second place finisher. Prius, very interesting race. Started on the pole. I think this is your first pole the entire season. Led a bunch of laps, but just was not there when it came down to it. What do you have to say about your run out there, Prius?
Honestly, I think had we not had those couple of cautions, I would have had a better shot just because I had a tire offset on maybe and scored. I don't think I was going to win this race no matter what without that first caution, just because maybe always has better tire wear than me. So I was guaranteed to lose probably 5 seconds on strategy, anyways, even if we were doing the same strategy. So that's the main reason I pitted on that first caution, because I knew I was going to have at least an offset then, but second caution kind of ruined everything. And then I just didn't have the consistency at the end to really keep up with them and fight for the lead.
All right, well, it was a fantastic run, and this coupled with NFL not even cracking the top 5, this puts you way ahead for third place in the championship. There are 3 races left. What is your goal over these last 3 races? You can't really go any higher in the championship right now, and it doesn't seem like NFL has anything for you. What's the goal for you over these last 3 events coming up?
I'd like to, I'd say, be closer on pace-wise and potentially win a road course without maybe in Buffalo both making mistakes. Chance at that I think would be C-Ring, because I'm not the best at lower speed circuits, so I'm probably going to lose to them on Laguna. And then, if I could have a shot at winning Homestead for the finale, that track always seems to hate me for some reason, so I don't expect anything much, but hey, I have pace, so we'll see what happens.
All right, anything else you want to say, Prius, before we let you go for the night?
Not really.
All right, Prius, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. We'll let you go. Good job on what I believe is now 5 straight podium results.
Yeah, well, maybe just 6.
All right, now I want to turn our focus to Scored Buffalo. Buffalo, make sure your audio is included. We talked with you dejected because with 1 lap to go, I was thinking in my head, man, Scored might be really able to open up this gap on maybe in the points. Ran out of tires, ran out of fuel, limped to a distant third. What fell apart for you there at the end?
It's just the pit that whenever I pitted under caution, because with the way that how Forza works is that it keeps calculating your fuel under caution. Like it doesn't you don't have to like go over the start finish line or anything. It'll just calculate your fuel wherever you are on the track. And so we were under caution for like a lap and a half before I pitted. And in the pits, I'm not thinking about how it calculated differently than when I was doing it in a race. So I picked 14 laps, thinking I was going to get 14 laps. And I think if I was going at race pace, I think I had like 9. And if it wasn't for that last caution, I would never have made it. I would have had to pit. So, just not accounting for what the game does, and I just lost it. I nearly had it. I would have been like over the moon if I actually got that. But yeah, on that second to last lap, it took me over to 0. It took me over to 0 going from the third to last corner. So I was like, from that point, I was just like, I might as well just full power for like most of the last lap. But then I thought about if I run out of fuel earlier than that, then I'll be in more trouble. So even then, Prius still got me. So it's really whatever. But yeah, the tires were okay. It's just mainly the fuel. Like, if it wasn't for the fuel, I think I would have won that easily. But it's whatever. It happens.
All right, 3 races left in the championship. For the first time this season, you are not the points leader. But you do still have an advantage. Maybe is guaranteed to lose points due to the drop round before the season is over. You are not. Do you still think you have a shot at the championship?
I mean, yeah. If things go to plan, and like strategy isn't too bad, I think I'm still in this. Also, thanks to the NFL for setting me up with strategy, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known what to do. And
all right,
yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we let you go for the night, Buffalo?
No, that's really it.
All right. Well, that is the word from Scored Buffalo, our third place finisher. Buffalo, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. And he's already gone. So now I want to go ahead and turn our focus to our 4th place finisher, Amish Gaming. Amish, go ahead, include your audio. Another solid top 5 result. Ran the top 5 on merit basically all day long. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
And it was just a fantastic points day for the team. I mean, we've just needed this for quite a while, and just running consistent top 5s every week is to be, I don't know, it just seems to be where we are now. I don't know how. I don't know where I found the pace, but I'm glad that I did.
Hello, Fuzzball. We'll get an interview with you very shortly here. Amish, on that run to the end, it was a fight between you and Fuzzball, and you two were pretty darn close to each other for that entire run. Did you think that he was going to get you at the end?
I didn't pay much mind to it. I was aware that he was where he was, but I just kept driving my line and kept doing what I was doing because it seemed to be working, and I was holding the gap.
All right, fair enough. 3 races left in the season. 1 at Laguna Seca, 1 at Sebring, 1 more at Homestead, Miami on the High Banked Oval. Do you think a podium is still in the cards for you before the season's up?
I sure hope so. I think that if Scored had run out of fuel a little bit sooner, I might have even been able to snag one today, but we'll see. We'll obviously need a little bit of help between people not showing up or just strategy. But, I'd say it's possible, especially at a place like Homestead.
All right, well, we'll be keeping an eye on that, Amish. Great job out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
Thank you.
All right, and now I want to talk with our 5th place finisher, to Fuzzball. Fuzzball, go ahead and include your audio. Another very interesting day for you, kind of all up and down the field early on, but you locked into a top 5 run at the end. What do you have to say about your race out there? All right, well, not quite 4th, but it was still a pretty solid 5th place result for you, one way or another. I do want to ask, as the season is starting to run down, at this stage of the season, you are still behind Golden in the points, but not by a massive amount. Do you think you can overtake your teammate in driver's points before this season is over? All right, well, you definitely will have closed the gap down today. I think the gap between the two of you will be something to around like 15 points or something like that, doing rough napkin math. Anything else you want to say before we let you go for the night, Golden? I'm sorry, not Golden, Fuzzball. Excuse me, I'm getting tired. I apologize. Anything else you want to say, though? Yeah. 3 more races, because there's 1 at Sebring, 1 at Laguna, 1 at Miami. So, yeah. Okay. Anyways, great job out there, Fuzzball. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. We look forward to hopefully talking to you again going forward in the season. Peace out. All right, and that is the interviews complete for our top 5 finishers. It's been a very interesting day, to say the least. Basically, from the green flag to the checkered flag, things were all over the place. But the championship momentum has swung. But has it swung enough? There are still 3 races left in the season. Join us in a week's time. Once again, on Friday, we will be back with the X League Porsche Cup event. Saturday, we will be back with the GT3 Pro event. Both those under X League. And Sunday night, we will be back again here with the IndyCar Summer Series for FEC. But until next time, I have been your host for tonight's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Farewell, and goodbye, everyone.